Yo, Rahubat guys, I want to read to you something about what might tie into what's going on now with the COVID-19 so-called coronavirus, yeah? I want to read out of Treasures in the Sand for you, a part that talks about Cataclysms, chapter 4. Do you get me? Because this corona thing, even in my family, I can see a lot of people that are just starting to like act a bit silly over this thing. Do you know what I mean? I think, the fear of the unknown has made a lot of people a bit apprehensive, a bit on edge, to the point where I've started to see it in my family. I'd just like to say right now, the only power that the government have over us, yeah, is our fear and our ignorance. There's no other power that the government have over us other than our fear and our ignorance. That's what they're feeding off. And we need to stop empowering them with our fear and with our ignorance. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Also, there's a saying that I said the other day on Facebook where I put up a meme and it says, challenges a dragon with a gift in its mouth. We've got a challenge in front of us now, very heavy challenge, as to how to get through this mess and how to get the world out of this mess, which is, I would say, the heaviest challenge I've faced in my whole lifetime. Do you know what I mean? It's hard, but the fact that there's a gift in the mouth of that dragon, the fact that there's a gift, a reward, for if we take up that challenge and we're successful, and if you got a small group of people that are determined and they have the same level of thinking, they can achieve the impossible. I think it was that racist Gandhi who said that. But anyway, the saying still remains true. You see what I'm saying? I wrote down a few things that I wanted to touch on just so I don't lose topic. Yeah, but after this morning's rant, because I had a rant, man, my dad's really, sometimes I speak to him, he's like he don't know what's going on, and I feel sorry for him. Do you know what I'm saying? To have to be isolated, or to be told to isolate in the way that they've told old people to isolate. It's taking the piss. They've totally devalued the older part of the population. But I'd like to say the views come down, man. And you might have heard that term going around social media a lot, how the views come down. But I want you lot to understand exactly what that means, because there's a prophecy with us black people that says, when the veil of Isis comes down between the spiritual world and the physical world, then all things that were once done in the dark will be brought into the light. And I think that we entered that period from the time we went into the age of information, with the Freedom of Information Act and all of that stuff playing a part to it. But I think it's gone into overdrive now, where a lot of stuff behind the veil that we wasn't privy to before because of the conditioning, social conditioning, and the false history and narratives we've been programmed with, wasn't able to see. But now we've come through the millennium, through the Y2K, and a lot of people are starting to see through both religion and politics. It's clear to see that the veils come down to the point where they're not even hiding to do what they want no more. They're not hiding to throw up the 5G towers. They just don't want the revolution. They don't want people in their face and stuff. And I actually feel like as well, they don't want us to make the connections with the sun. So now the weather's all good and the sun's beaming out with the vitamin D and the good spirits and stuff that it brings to all of its creatures. They don't want us to be out in the sun. So as much as you can, even if you don't want to go outside your house, try and get in the backyard and make that link with the sun, man, and make that beat down on your pineal gland, because you need that, man. You need that charge. So don't just lock away in your house and think that you can't go out and bask in the sun and stuff. Make sure you bask in the sun even a couple hours, because it's supposed to be 6 hours a day. Melanite's supposed to bask in the sun. Okay? The real purpose of this discussion, I wanted to talk about both cataclysms and the Great Tribulation that's mentioned in the Bible. But I'm going to do it from within my book. So bear with me, yeah? Because I just want to read a certain bits of stuff so you can get a general idea of where I think we are right now, yeah? So here we go. This is chapter 4, the land before time, yeah? So I'm going to say, it goes like this. Although this is a most controversial claim to academics and scholars of these days, I will say that a pre-diluvial or a civilization before the flood existed, which was more scientifically and spiritually advanced than the Egypt, the Sumer, Greece and Rome that Orthodox history celebrates. This high culture, which was given to Homo sapiens through the ancient Anu or Tardaneg people, has existed in isolated areas since before the end of the last ice age, which ended circa 13,000 years ago when the ice caps melted. When this happened, it initiated the end of an age in which 70% of the life of this planet became extinct. This included plants, animals, and humanity. This major cataclysm wiped away the successes of this early high culture, its scientific and spiritual advances leaving only a remnant. So the last time we had the melting of the ice caps and the big gigantic deluge or flood that came from the melting of the ice caps, the result of that washed away all the evidence of a civilization that existed, before the flood. Okay, so global cataclysms. There are various reasons as to why periodically the cycles of life in the planet Earth experience global cataclysms or extinction level events in brackets, such as the Great Deluge, which has been recorded by so many nations and religions. Each age of man ends with a major global cataclysm, having experienced many minor ones. The first age of man was ended by meteor shower. The second age was also ended by meteor shower. The third previous age, the age before our age, was ended by the Great Deluge or the flood water. And now we are currently in the fourth age of man, called by some cultures the fifth age of the sun, like the Aztecs call it the fifth age of the sun. We are currently upon the doorstep of another major cataclysm which threatens the future of our modern civilization. Okay, we're getting there. It is not my intention here to predict or prophesize how our modern world will come to an end. It is beyond the purpose and scope of this scroll to go down that route. There is more than enough material out there for those of you who want more information on this end of the subject, like how the world's exactly going to end. Remember, I wrote this in 2016. Whether the next cataclysm will be spawned by a magnetic polar shift caused by the sun, another global flood, an earthquake, comets or meteors, or from self-inflicted nuclear war is not important, or I should have said biological war. What is most important is the fact that the cataclysms are a reality and really do happen, and that the life of humans is not as guaranteed as you may be prone to think. Our current civilization could end overnight if, say, a comet 1 kilometer in size silently and invisibly crept upon us, travelling even 30,000 miles per hour and landing either on land or in the sea. It would still mess us up. The Earth is regularly had near flybys which were not picked up until moments before or even moments after the object has passed. Another KT event could happen like it did 65 million years ago, wiping out the dinosaurs and 99.9% of the species upon the face of the planet. A violent solar storm could result in a magnetic polar reversal and kill all life on the planet at any time overnight. A polar shift would flip the planet upside down, like what happened to Venus circa 3113 BC. Solar radiation could kill entire populations. Comets and meteor bombardment could strip away the planet's crust and atmosphere, like the planet Mars confirms. Again, the life of humans is not promised. Our civilization is fragile, and yet mankind is playing with fire with the threat of nuclear and biological warfare upon our doorstep. Despots, dictators, and religious fanatics hold so much power that one push of a button could change the course of history. Men like Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, Assad, al-Baghdadi, Kim Jong-un, to say the least. Though the experts try hard to ignore it, there is evidence to suggest that ancient man inhabited the earth far back into the Cambrian and the Cretaceous periods, inhabiting the world alongside the dinosaurs. Technologically advanced humanoids have been operating here much longer than experts are willing to admit. This is because the experts know that the Kushite evoluted not here on Earth, but in another far-off solar system in the form of the Anunnaki Neteru, before coming to Mars and the planet Earth and genetically engineering modern hominids in a long process of assisted evolution. The early civilization that was handed down to humanity achieved the golden age of marvels, which has never left the psyche and memory of humanity throughout the ages. The myth of all the world's nations contained corrupted and mythologized accounts of the coming of the gods and the golden age that followed. The legacy of the Kushite people, the original man, preserved this reality in the eternal stone of the monuments and the infinite appeal of the teachings, which was dissipated throughout the world culture and religions. Many artifacts have been mentioned, pictured, and indeed some even have been found that attest to the scientifically advanced pre-diluvial civilization which was preserved within the civilizations of Kush, Kemet, Elam, Sumer, the Indus, Zia, China and Mexico, and the Yucatan Peninsula. Okay, in 1936, a Parthenian device dating between 248 BC to 226 AD was discovered. It was a vase-like vessel of light yellow clay containing a copper cylinder held firmly by asphalt. The vase is about 15 centimeters high. The sheet copper cylinder tube with bottom had a diameter of 26 millimeters and was 9 centimeters long. The stopper of asphalt within it contains a completely oxidized iron rod, the top of which projected about 1 centimeter above the stopper. It is covered by a fully oxidized thin coating of yellowish grey metal resembling lead. The bottom end of the cylinder, upon which has a layer of asphalt roughly 3 millimeters deep. When Conning realized that when the various parts were put together and examined, that by adding acid or alkaline liquid, the device activated its electrical element. In other words, it was a battery. Dr. Arne Eggebrecht duplicated the artifact and added grape juice, which is alkali liquid in brackets, resulting in the battery generating half a volt of electricity. Along the Baghdad battery, it's called the Baghdad battery, it's a real battery, there is evidence of electroplating, as in the small statue of Osiris in gold-plated silver, which remains a mystery and dates back to 400 BC. Now, 400 BC is far from 10,500 BC, and although by the time we reach back to the first dynasty kings, this sort of evidence disappears, the inferences of electrical technology remain surprisingly strong. There are also many curious phenomena associated with the design of the Giza pyramids, especially the Great Pyramid of Khufu or Cheops, that are suggestive of electrical sources and properties. It is a known fact that the mysterious lights generated at the apex of the Great Pyramid has much to do with the static electricity that it generates, even when an aura is not present. They are caused by static electricity which manifests itself as an aura during certain climatic conditions. It's also causing ringing noises, causing the Arab invaders to believe that the pyramids is haunted. The electricity can be demonstrated by using Leyden jars which store static electricity. Okay. From the vast evidences produced here, it is clear to see that the history of the planet, its people and contributions of certain cultures has been deliberately distorted and suppressed. Too often, alternative views are brushed aside by scholars as Pan-African, misguided and even conspiracy theories, when in actuality the only misguided views are the orthodox official histories taught by the establishment, such as history classes and religion. The many treasures in the sand attest to the pioneering genius of many cultures, especially those of the Anu people and Kushites, whose remains have been uncovered at every major site from east to west and found buried in and around all of the great world monuments worthy of the name. Contrary to what the song sheet scholars deny, the ancient Kushites were expert seafarers who established a network of trade and spiritual sciences all around the globe after the Great Deluge, which happened when the ice caps melted last, roughly around 13,000 years ago. According to Sumerian records, this age of the deluge was 10,860 BC, and the ancient Sigaga or Sumerians, black-headed people, transported civilization from Tamaray all around the planet from 10,860 BCE to re-civilize the planet, and this was in the age of Leo. It was during this time, 10,500 BC roughly, that Horem Akhet or the Sphinx was erected by the Shamsu Haru, or the followers of Horus, who are also called Akkus, staring at his namesake, which is Re Harakti. It means that the Sphinx was built in around 10,500 BC, and it was pointing at its opposite, which is the constellation of Leo, or what we call in our language, Re Harakti. What's going on, little nephew? What's going on? I'm doing a little video here just talking about, well, I'm supposed to be talking about cataclysms. So I'm just trying to link it to the buildings and that and give them a few pointers, all right? Okay, so let me continue from here because it goes into a lot of other stuff too. Hold on, where am I? Okay, the 52-degree angle of the pyramids of the Giza complex shows an intense and masterful familiarity of the pi ratio, and so do the many other pyramids which use the 43.5-degree angle around the ancient world. In the Great Pyramid of Giza, or Khufu in Giza, it was realized by giving the pyramid a height equal to half its side length divided by pi and then multiplied by 4. So that would be 754, and that equals 2 equals 377, which would mean that pi is 3.14, which equals 120 times 4, which would equal the height of the pyramid, which is 480 feet in height. In the 43.5-degree pyramids, it was done by reducing the height from a final multiple of 4 to a multiple of 3. In both instances, knowledge of the pi factor is needed, along with the knowledge of the sacred so-called Fibonacci sequence, which our illustrious ancestors referred to as the divine numbers. So our ancestors called the Fibonacci sequence, if you know about that, the divine numbers. The divine numbers, or the Fibonacci sequence, is obtained by a sequence of numbers in which the two numbers before added together equal the next number. So it starts with 0, and then it goes 1, and then it goes 1, and then it goes 2, and then it goes 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, etc. and so on. So if I have 0 and then I have 1, yeah, from the time you get to, and then after the 1 you have another 1 in the sequence. Now 1 and 1 make 1, and then you have another, the next number in the sequence is 2, and the number before the 2 is 1. So 1 and 2 make 3, so the next number is 3, and then you have 3 and 2, so the next number is 5, and then you have 5 and 3, so the next number is 8. Do you see where I'm going with this? That's the Fibonacci sequence, and that's built into every physical thing in this physical reality. Yeah, this adds up to the divine equation of 9 times 9 times 9 to the 9th power, holding the secrets of the infinite. The ancestors also possess the sacred knowledge of the Phi, the golden section, and more, which is demonstrated at Giza, Teotihuacan in the Yucatan, and even on Mars at sites like Cydonia and Elysium. Okay, so this sacred and divine equation governs the construction of all of the matter of the physical creation, from atoms and cells to animals, humans, plant life, patterns in nature, and inanimate objects, giving rise to what is called the sacred geometry of creation. Therefore, our ancestors built their lives and monuments in line with the universes and the natural order of things, which is an intricate understanding of God consciousness, universal consciousness, God consciousness / universal consciousness. Yeah. In this way, the gods, principalities of nature, or Neteru, gave us the sacred wisdom to build structures that would stand the test of time, as can be evidenced throughout the many standing ruins of the ancient world. These monuments held within them the secrets of eternity themselves. Everybody fears time, but time fears the pyramids. Okay, so the monuments left worldwide are books written in stone that cannot be changed like the pages of man-made scriptures. They cannot be read without the cosmic key that unlocks the encrypted higher knowledge, the truth that will make you free. John 8:32 in brackets. The fullness of this can only be deciphered by true initiates and modern seekers of the facts. Our ancestors left these monuments for us in full expectation that we would have the learning and the capacity to overstand by way of our enthusiasm. Like I said before, to achieve this, you must cease from being lazy and learn to do your own in-depth and consistent research. Because in this current age of information, the truth is all out there, and ignorance is a choice. There's no excuse for remaining ignorant in this day and age of computers, the internet, and Wikipedia. As I said, ignorance is a choice. There are numerous reasons as to why the giant star clock, known to us as the Giza complex, was laid out with its enigmatic monuments, alignments, and edifices. Many of these functions are carefully explained in Today's, Tomorrow's, Yesterday, Volume 1 by myself, Djedefre Memnon. The complex and its higher meaning is a testimony of the gods and their flock, the Kushite people of yesterday and today. It is for us our responsibility to reawaken this African spirituality along with the long-sleeping African mind that pioneered the spirituality and sciences that led to the breakthroughs that we enjoy today. There definitely is nothing new under and above the sun. No new breakthroughs have been discovered since the advent of Kushite civilization. Today, nothing new is discovered by the Europeans, as they like to make claim, only uncovered after being lost in the sands of time. Right. The fabric of existence has many threads. Nothing happens of itself. Anonymous. Right, I want to get to the part where it's talking about the cataclysm, so bear with me, yeah? So I want to start. Okay. Yeah, getting back into it here. Okay. This piece, I want to just give this piece about the Kali Yuga, yeah? The Indo-Aryans, or Hindus, inherited the Dravidian Puntite texts. So what I'm saying there is even the stuff the Hindus got come from black people, yeah? It comes from Puntite Dravidians who had it first, yeah? The Indo-Aryans, or Hindus in brackets, inherited the Dravidian Puntite texts concerning the existence of the cycles. These cycles are subdivided into 4 stages or epochs called yugas. The Krita Yuga, which is 1,728,000 human years. The Treta Yuga, which is 1,296,000 human years. The Vapura Yuga, which is 864,000 human years. And finally, the age in which we are currently now, the Kali Yuga, which is 432,000 human years, as Professor Herman Jacobi states. The astronomical aspect of the Yuga is that in its commencement, sun, moon and planets stood in conjunction in the initial point of the ecliptic and returned to the same point at the end of an age. The popular belief in which this notion is based is older than Hindu astronomy. So what that means there is that the astronomical aspect of the Kali Yuga in its commencement, when it finishes, is when the sun, moon and stars, it's a circle, yeah? A great circle of a certain amount of years. And where it starts is where it ends, okay? And the popular belief in which this notion is based, that tradition of studying the stars like that and the yugas and the cycles is older than Hindu astronomy itself. So it came from somewhere else. Like I was saying, it came from Dravidian Puntite people who left the northern Africa and spread out into the Middle East and into Iran and stuff, Iraq and all them areas. Yeah, so what he means to say is that this mythologized astronomical knowledge goes back further than the Indo-Aryans to the Dravidians, Puntites in brackets, who, as you can recall from the evidence presented, were also Kushites. Eastern Kushites from the Nubian land of Punt, which is Somalia and Eritrea and Kenya and all them places now. This ancient Kushite information is related to the precession of the equinoxes, the cyclical process in which the zodiacal constellation slowly shifts against the backdrop of which the sun rises on the spring equinox. The 12 shifts of 2,160 years adds up to 25,920 years for a full completion of the zodiacal display, and this falls into larger cycles such as the sun making its 250 million year cycle around the central black hole in the center of our universe, okay? The center of our solar system, our galaxy. The first of the civilizations on Earth was generated by and for the Elohim, lofty beings, gods or Neteru or Anunnaki. When they left the planet Mars after having lost its atmosphere, humankind was first created to serve these supreme beings, these Anunnakis or Elohims or Neterus, who came from a far-off constellation with advanced scientific and mechanical and technological know-how. This is when the gods lived among man, or better, man lived among the gods, or aliens if you want to say extraterrestrials, as their servants. This was the first golden age recorded as myth and corrupted through the sands of time. The remnants of this genetic memory are contained within each culture and religion worthy of the name. Every culture worldwide speaks about the same golden ages, cataclysms, epochs of time cycles and higher spirituality and gods, but in their own language and symbolisms. There is no such thing as coincidence, and this is testimony to the reality of these Anunnaki Neteru, or Elohim gods in brackets, as everybody across the globe could not have generated the same symbols, images, and come up with the same ideas and stories at the same time. Okay, Maxim 42, Epilogue 5, the teachings of Tar-Hotep on the duties and destiny of a spiritual son. A son who understands is a follower of Horus, and only after having understood will he find fulfillment. He will live to a ripe old age and become a venerable one. He should hand the same message on to his children, renewing his father's teachings. Every man receives teaching in keeping with his deeds. He should pass this on to his children. Mold your character as an example. Do not give free rein to your destructive tendencies. Reinforce rectitude and you will have spiritual descendants. As for the first among them to introduce evil, injustice and disorder, let witnesses declare, that's exactly what we expected from such a wretch. And let it be repeated for those listening. That's exactly what we expected from such a wretch. Let each and everyone see the wise man, and then the crowd will be appeased. Without those sages, there would be no riches. Right, let's get back to the cataclysms, yeah? Okay. Okay. Yeah, bear with me. Okay. Right. Hope y'all guys are still with me. I know we're coming to nearly half an hour. I'll soon done. Okay. On the need to listen and understand the teachings of Tar-Hotep, Maxim 39, Epilogue 2. It is useful for a spiritual son to listen. If a person immerses himself in listening, he will start to understand. True listening makes the word valuable. The person who knows how to listen can master what is enlightening and useful. Listening benefits the one who listens. Listening is better than anything. It engenders perfect love. How fortunate when a son can accept what his father says. Understanding the message, he will reach a grand old age. God loves the man who listens, but detests the one who does not. The conscience of a man's heart determines whether he listens or not. For a human being, this heart conscience is life, prosperity, and health. It is the man who listens who understands what is said. It is the man who loves listening who fulfills what is said. How fortunate when a son obeys his father. He who listens to the person who hands on this teaching will be well in his innermost self and blessed by his father. His memory will live on in the words of those living on this earth or of those yet to be born. The teachings of Tar-Hotep. Okay. To learn the secrets of astral immortality, one must learn to listen twice as much as one speaks. For we each have 2 ears and 1 mouth. If God intended for us to speak twice as much as we listen, he would have given us 2 mouths and 1 ear. Nowadays, many of us like to talk too much and are too loud. Practice listening to the wisdom of silence. Quieten the noise surrounding you so that you may be able to hear your own thoughts and the secret voice of the thinking heart. Even the hidden voice of the cosmos, the secrets of the stars. Okay, no. There is a conspiracy being run on Kushites or black people of today and all people in the world in general to convince you that the Kemetians, Egyptians, were sun-worshipping Satanists, so that you will never look more deeply into the Egyptian or Kushite teachings and sciences to discover the secret of your legacy, of your spirituality, and the law of the light. This way, they hope you will never re-establish your link with your Salafu, your ancestors, and gods, which will quicker usher in a new age of spirituality and righteousness. When Ma'at reigns again, is when the Nubian Kushite will rule the world again as a god and vice-regent of Paut Netru and the Most High, Amun-Ra. That will be the end of this world as you know it. Capitalism, Westernism, false beginnings of a new, false monetary system. Not just for Kushites, but for the whole human family and the earth itself. This will be a rude awakening, a radical change for humanity, which must rediscover its purpose and the purpose of creation in general. I'll quote Tahotep again. Imitate your fathers who lived before you. Success depends on your ability to learn. The sages passed on their teaching in their writings. Consult them, study them, read and reread them unceasingly. I will say that at the start of the New Kingdom, Egypt was in her death throes. She never regained her former glory. Okay, let's go back to the end of the world stuff, because I'm just trying to stick you guys in the understanding the cataclysms, and if we can actually look at this corona stuff as a cataclysm. So let me get there. Okay. Right. Let me find a specific part for you guys. Right, that's in there. The word Orwellian. Right. Let me start from here. The new pseudo-culture of celebrity and sports must be disposed of in the light of these words. We must prioritize the re-education of our children with right knowledge, right wisdom and right understanding, or in brackets, sound right reasoning. Racial and religious tolerance to neutralize the atmosphere of religious fanaticism and racial toxicity, which is causing terrorism and the spilling of innocent blood. Our people in the West must become family orientated and forget about fame and the pursuit of wealth at the cost of purpose. It is time for all women, black women and otherwise, to stop flaunting themselves as sexual objects of pleasure to be possessed, but rather vehicles of love and light. Okay. For all our scientific achievements, great discoveries, and the many convenience comforts of the modern Western world, there remains a pervading sense that civilization has taken a wrong turn somewhere down the line. Secrets and lies seem rife within governments and institutions. Countries go to war on very shaky grounds, and an agenda of control and surveillance appears to have replaced the relative freedom that the West once knew. Fear of climate change, fear of terrorism, fear of flu pandemics, fear of poverty, fear of immigrants and outsiders, fear of almost everything. All of these threats seemingly dangled above our heads and actively inflated by media shock merchants mean that we increasingly act from a place of threatened security rather than from expansion and joy. The prevailing impression is that we are poised on the brink of political, economic, spiritual and social breakdown as the family unit dissolves and the old foundations of respect and a sense of the sacred dwindle away into disorder, systematic corruption and crime. Meanwhile, the savage austerity measures seen in several countries amidst the current economic turmoil have focused many minds on loss, or in some cases simply the fear of loss in brackets, rather than abundance. The Orwellian picture, which was painted by Andy Thomas, put it perfectly. The fact is that society or civilization took a wrong turn when the matriarchal spirituality of the ancient Kushite kingdoms, such as Kemet, turned into the rise of the patriarchal, materialistic, male-chauvinistic kingdoms of homosexual Greco-Rome. The materialism, male chauvinism and inhuman barbarity that these civilizations wrought upon the organic people and cultures of the planet from then until now has been the worst blight that humanity has ever had to face. The inhuman nature of the European peaks not with the Holocaust of the Nazi fascists, which killed 6 million, but with the transatlantic slave trade of the 1500s, which killed 100 million on the ships alone. This was the worst atrocity on humanity, not the Holocaust, for which no one has been held responsible, or no official apology has been given or compensation been paid. The raping of Mother Africa, her resources, her women, our grandmothers in brackets, not to pass on civilization but only to increase Europe's material wealth, the Willie Lynch syndrome encoded into us black people and its psychological implications have never been addressed by today's elite, the descendants of the slave masters in brackets. The white man's burden is used as an excuse for it. The good news is that the outcome can still be swung in our favour. It is possible for us to control our sexual urges and to purify ourselves, mind, body and soul. The re-emergence of the Tantra is paramount to the success of humanity. The liberation of love and the overstanding of the meaning of the spiritual tradition of the Kushites is a must for this to work out in humanity's favour. Those who still believe that the old world before coronavirus today is the pinnacle of humanity and that the European way of viewing and doing things is the only relevant way, you need not concern yourself in these matters. These words are for the chosen few who hold the power and the key to the salvation of the planet Earth. Out of the many called, only few are chosen, 144,000 in brackets, and they will each affect up to 750,000 people within their own radius, thereby awakening the love and light embedded deep within the subconscious of all of humanity, for we are all the children of the All. Our job is to destroy the illusion presented by the masses as reality, in order for the servants of the serpent, the Leviathan in brackets, to dim the light and the truth of the Elohim Anunnaki, the gods. This 6,000 year spell of sleep, of Rachel and spiritual blindness, should have run its course in 2000, but today in 2020 it is still holding the majority of the world under its spell, even though it's quickly crumbling. The planet has been so thoroughly conditioned that most folks cannot even see behind the physical world. They cannot perceive the war being fought in the spiritual realm for the minds and the hearts of men and women. The overexertion of perverse, carnal and lustful sex has the world trapped within its own vanities and iniquity. Fellow light workers, do not give up the good fight. Okay?